After a day's journey back from Flame Dungeon using Solitas's spatial teleportation magic, Lloyd, Solitas, and Javier found themselves in Frontera County. Lloyd guided Solitas to the dwarf artisan, Corgadus, where they encountered skepticism due to Solitas being a dragon. However, recalling a previous request and using a mix of honesty and manipulation, Lloyd convinced Corgadus to accept Solitas as an apprentice. Solitas, determined to overcome his handicraft challenges, embraced the opportunity. Lloyd receives a message from the system that he had saved another life. In the novel, Solitas died after fighting with Javier. Count Frontera and his wife committed suicide after being buried in debts. Julian was supposed to die in the royal capital, but all of them are still alive in this timeline because of Lloyd. Meanwhile, Lloyd focused on the sewer system project, realizing the need to upgrade his design skill. Investing a substantial amount of RP, he successfully raised his design skill to an advanced level, unlocking the construction guidelines option. Excited about this new feature, Lloyd asked Javier for a favor, leading him to dig and uncover a mysterious green line forming a precise underground structure. As Lloyd revealed it to be the construction guidelines in action, Javier marveled at Lloyd's consistent ability to spin bold lies. Lloyd, reminiscing about past encounters with a dark mage during the construction of a stone warehouse for an orc tribe, reveals a magical metal that creates illusions when infused with mana. Using this metal, he claims to have drawn a construction guideline, a detailed 3D blueprint, beneath the ground for the sewer system project. The construction guideline proves successful, enhancing precision and efficiency in the construction process. Whenever the workers make mistakes in construction, an angry face of Lloyd will pop out, creating a commotion among workers. The settlement embarks on building a large sewage tank and main sewage pipes, utilizing Podong and Bibyung's colossal excavation abilities. After a few huge downpours of spring rain, the construction of the sewer was proceeding steadily over 3 months. Thanks to the construction guideline, the main sewer's construction was progressing at a fast pace. It started to stretch towards the north quickly, the place where the mastodons that attacked the territory had settled down. Lloyd emphasizes safety measures due to potential mastodon threats, but strangely, they uncover a multitude of neatly arranged mastodon carcasses buried underground, raising questions and ominous anticipation. The excavation site echoed with an ominous sound, capturing the attention of soldiers watching the mastodon carcass excavation. Suddenly, Lloyd, sensing abnormal mana flow through his Azron technique, realized the danger and urged everyone to step back. The explosions, fueled by a concentrated mana explosion, revealed the dark reality of a necromancer's spell, far surpassing the scale of a typical corpse explosion. Bibyung blocks the explosion with his body to save everyone. Amidst chaos, a massive undead mastodon emerged from the pit, signaling a dire turn of events. As the horde of undead mastodons charged towards them, Lloyd, realizing the impending danger, desperately ordered everyone to run. The White Cavalry bravely engaged the undead mastodons, but Lloyd orders them to retreat. Lloyd decided to formulate a plan to ensure everyone's safety. Deploying Podong, he attempted to delay the undead mastodons but faced challenges due to their sheer numbers. As he prepared to confront the undead mastodons alone, Lloyd's resolve reflected his commitment to safeguarding lives and finding a way to navigate through the chaos. Solitas senses a distant explosion with his dragon abilities and speculates on the mana surge, suspecting a necromancer's involvement. He considers checking it out, but he also senses Javier moving towards that direction. Meanwhile, Lloyd, having ordered the White Cavalry and workers to retreat, confronts the undead mastodon horde, successfully diverting their attention with the help of baby mastodon. The baby mastodons were raised by Bayern since they were little and have been helping in construction works. Lloyd threatens the undead mastodons with the help of the baby mastodons' excellent acting. Based on the novel, the mastodons are known to be overly obsessed and protective of their children, and it seems that remains the same even if they became undead. However, as they try to escape through a gorge, it collapses due to recent rains, trapping them at a dead end. Lloyd, realizing climbing the cliffs is risky, instructs Podong and the baby mastodon on safety measures. He faces the approaching undead mastodons head-on, firing a triple burst to slow them down, while activating his Azron technique's supercharge to absorb mana and prepare for the impending confrontation. Lloyd, after activating the supercharge skill, experiences a surge in his mana heart skill, rapidly leveling up and expanding its capabilities. Despite enduring excruciating pain from absorbing corrupt mana, Lloyd achieves significant growth in his mana heart skill, reaching Sword Expert Intermediate Level 1. As the supercharge skill option concludes, Lloyd opens his eyes to face the remaining Undead Mastadon horde. Unexpectedly, a new skill option, Undead Domination, is activated. The charging Undead Mastodons suddenly come to a halt, exhibiting visible fear, a rarity for undead creatures. Lloyd, after activating the Undead Domination skill, gains control over the Mastodons, forcing them to kneel and create a makeshift path. As they leap over the Mastodons to escape the gorge, Lloyd realizes the limited time and the limitations of the skill. It only works when facing the undead. Those that are behind him have already recovered. Panicking, Lloyd urges Podong to run faster, but the collapse seems inevitable. As debris rains down and escape becomes impossible, a mysterious white substance, identified as spider silk, encases Lloyd and the Mastodon, providing a sudden glimmer of hope. A shout from the sky signals the arrival of Goming and Javier, who, riding the giant bird, intervenes with a timely rescue. Spider silk descends, enveloping Lloyd, Podong, and the baby Mastodon, allowing them to be pulled to safety. The spiderweb aids their rapid escape from the horde, narrowly avoiding catastrophe. Javier attacks the cliff and plans to trigger a landslide to bury the undead. The Mastodons are crushed by the falling rocks and a massive explosion of corpses triggered. Javier severs the web, and everyone lands safely on a cliff. However, Javier was angry with Lloyd for recklessly putting himself in danger. Javier explained that Lloyd, as the Lord's heir, has a greater responsibility towards the domain and its people. He shouldn't risk his life for every situation. Lloyd understands Javier's concern. He acknowledges the importance of his role and his responsibility towards the workers depending on him. Lloyd reassures Javier that he wouldn't be reckless but would still try his best to protect himself. Javier, initially critical, begins to appreciate Lloyd's sincerity and newfound commitment. The banter between them reveals a more vulnerable side of Javier, evident in the unexpected positive messages Lloyd receives. Despite Javier's denial, Lloyd teases him, leading to a playful exchange. They survey the aftermath of the Undead Mastadon attack and discuss potential suspects, focusing on the Dark Mage encountered previously. Lloyd is suddenly troubled by the lack of clues. In the midst of a tiresome day overseeing construction, Lloyd is summoned to the study. Count Cremo, with his daughter Christine, are waiting for him. Count Cremo asks his hand for marriage. Lloyd jokingly says that he is not his type. Count Cremo clarifies that he is asking Lloyd to marry his daughter. Nobody else, according to the Count, is better qualified to be his son-in-law. He wonders when the marriage will take place and remarks that a lot of noble families must be attempting to link with the Fronteras through marriage. Taken aback by the rapid development, Lloyd encourages Count Cremo to ease down and says he hasn't received a proposal of marriage. Count Frontera, however, shows them numerous letters, each of them looking for a marriage-based partnership because of the Frontera family's increasing prominence. Lloyd, cautious and practical, realizes that these proposals are driven by the family's recent success and are not genuine expressions of love. He decides it's not the right time for marriage, emphasizing the need to focus on reconstruction. Lloyd rejects Count Cremo's proposal. If his family does not live up to his expectations, Count Cremo queries. Furthermore, he claims that Lloyd is still single at the age of 27, which is when people begin to question whether a person has any serious shortcomings due to their single status. Standing behind Lloyd, Javier struggles to contain his laughter. Lloyd sees Christine sobbing next to the Count. It is clear that she is not in favor of the marriage proposal. For her family, Christine claims she is prepared to make sacrifices. Christine said something that would make one believe she was being married to the Demon King. Javier can't hold back his laughter anymore, so he uses his mana to control himself. Count Frontera went on to say that it's crucial to consider the opinions of everyone concerned. And without love, it's hard to spend your entire life with someone. It is better to respect his daughter's wishes. Count Cremo acknowledges his mistake and decides to give up on his plan for the sake of his daughter's happiness. When Lloyd is left by himself, he muses over his single state and the fact that even his parents believe that the happy ending comes from not being married to him. Lloyd notices Javier in the corner, his shoulders trembling uncontrollably from suppressing his laughing. He makes an even greater effort than he did during their battle with the Gigatitan. Count Frontera supports Lloyd's decision, prompting the Count to reluctantly agree to reject the proposals. Later that night, the Count struggles with his own conflicting emotions and writes regretful letters of refusal to each noble family, expressing a sense of missed opportunities. The next day, these letters are sent to the Royal Noble Council. In the royal palace of the Magentano royal family, Queen Alicia, curious about Lloyd's responses to the marriage proposals, learns from the Chief of Staff that Lloyd has rejected them. Queen Alicia anticipates the same thing and believes the woman will turn down the proposal, even if the Fronteras accept it. Queen Alicia nearly bursts into laughter when she realizes how much Lloyd Frontera resembles a potato. Thinking about potatoes, Queen Alicia orders boiled potatoes for dinner. Regardless, the Queen believes that since the Fronteras will emerge as the most powerful family in the region, she should watch who they will pick. The foreign minister updates on diplomatic issues with Esfahan. They refuse to acknowledge any involvement with the monster domino and are creating a lot of commotion instead of offering an apology. Due to this, Queen Alicia decided to send a delegation of envoys to Esfahan, and was also considering sending a certain potato, Lloyd Frontera. Meanwhile, a discovery was made: a goat's head with a unique embroidery pattern, resembling the symbol of tyranny in the novel, Night of Blood and Iron. It's the symbol of the Queen that turned dark. Lloyd speculated about a potential connection to the mysterious advisor from the novel. Lloyd discovered something with this. There is undoubtedly a connection between the Narin's barrier tragedy and the Queen becoming dark, something the novel has never previously addressed. Since he entered this world, a great deal has changed. Not only did the Queen not become dark, but the reason behind the Narin's barrier catastrophe also vanished. Since that incident was only made possible by the monster domino refugees who sought safety in Narin. Lloyd's desire for a carefree existence will be hindered if he doesn't make preparations for that. The dark sorcerer that deployed Narin's barrier and drove everyone towards death, Cannavaro. Construction resumed at the sewage treatment plant, with everyone working diligently. A few days later, around 10 kilometers to the north in Frontera County, Podong opens the big lid of the sludge disposal plant. Solitas uses levitation magic to lift up the wastes and make them into a single ball, and then uses dragon's breath to incinerate them in one go. Lloyd is thinking to himself that the world will eventually come to know of the story of a dragon who gladly used his powers for the sake of humanity's hygiene. The legend of the shit-annihilating dragon, Solitas. After hearing it, Solitas becomes enraged and warns Lloyd not to tell anyone about it. After completing the first section of the main sewer and achieving the first sludge treatment, Lloyd receives a welcome message introducing a new title called, "Should I Give You Red Tissue or Blue Tissue?" The praise's effects include a 0% chance of infectious diseases in Frontera County for 50 years, blocking incoming diseases with a 100% probability. Lloyd is elated by the unexpected and significant rewards, especially the prevention of a cholera outbreak he had seen as a potential future event. Upon returning to the mansion, he finds a lot of carriages outside. Lloyd finds out that because of the rejected marriage proposals, the noble families sent their daughters in person, believing that Lloyd will change his mind if he sees them personally. Lloyd acknowledges that it's not the ladies that are trying to make relationships with him, it's their fathers. The first woman walks into the room and declares she wants to marry Lloyd, or whom she believed to be Lloyd. Lloyd has been mistaken as the servant, and Javier as the honorable young master once more. When the second woman enters, the identical scenario takes place. Thinking that Javier is Lloyd, she expresses her admiration for him right away, to which Lloyd responds by telling her to get out. As the third lady enters the room, Lloyd prepares to deliver his rejection speech. However, he hesitates upon recognizing the lady as Siluria Narin, the heroine from the novel, Night of Blood and Iron. In the novel, she was dating Javier, so many assumed she would be a fixed heroine. Yet in order to defend the Narin people, she sacrificed her life. Following that, readers lost their minds in the comment section. They thought it was too cruel and wondered why everyone Javier cared about and loved had died. The protagonist of this novel was always depressed and alone, which set it apart from other novels and attracted a lot of attention. Narin's barrier was a pivotal episode in the Night of Blood and Iron, where Javier confronted the Black Mage faction, revealing their true identity. Lloyd reminisced about the magical barrier around Narin, which Javier had overcome with his signature technique, Mana Blast. Siluria Narin visited Frontera seeking a marriage proposal. She claims that despite knowing it was impolite, she still went because her father was pressuring her to. Unlike the other women before her, Siluria knows who Lloyd and Javier really are. She also observed that a lot of previously unseen structures and roads were being constructed throughout the territory, leading her to believe that Lloyd must be too busy to be considering getting married. Knowing what Lloyd desires, Siluria makes the decision to depart. But Lloyd wants to know what's going on in Narin since he's concerned about the Narin's barrier incident. Siluria shares that 400 or more refugees fled their homes as a result of monster attacks and arrived in Narin. She also knows that someone transported them all the way to Narin. Lloyd verifies his suspicions about the existence of ongoing plots in Narin. The purpose of the Narin barrier spell is to drain the life of those who are inside it. Cannavaro's magic was activated when the number of refugees exceeded the necessary threshold, therefore the barrier was put in place. Lloyd reasoned that since they had brought all of the refugees into the county, the element needed to cast the magic had been eliminated. Nevertheless, some refugees eventually made their way to Narin. Should Cannavaro's schemes come to pass as described in the novel, the Hell Knight, a knight who brings death, will be called upon and thousands of Narin's people will be offered as sacrifices. In terms of the story setting, a Hell Knight's existence is practically akin to that of a deity, and not even a highly skilled swordmaster can overcome one. This implies that Lloyd will not be able to stop the entire region from being destroyed. This is even worse than Lloyd had anticipated. Lloyd, worried about the impending disaster, sought an excuse to visit Narin. He boldly declared that he could handle the cliff erosion issue facing the city. Siluria thinks about Narin's past problems with the precarious foundations of the cliff. Lloyd gave her his word that he could handle the problem and would determine the best course of action. Thus, the voyage to Narin commences with Lloyd planning to investigate Cannavaro, while earning through construction.